Hello, fellow superheroes disguised as do you want to discover the ultimate calmness code for your household? Picture this, you're transforming chaos into tranquility, tantrums into peace, all while maintaining your sanity intact. Join me on this quest to unlock the secrets of stress-free parenting and reclaim your home sweet home. Welcome back. Today we are going to discuss some effective strategies for preventing behavior issues with your children. As parents, it is essential to proactively work on creating positive and supportive environment to minimize behavior challenges. Let's explore some practical techniques that can help you in preventing behavior issues before they arise. Let's all be honest, parenting is super hard, exhausting, it's overwhelming. Nobody is perfect, but there are definitely things that you can put into place to just make everything much smoother and keep your sanity at bay, because that is probably the most important thing when it comes to parenting, is making sure that your mindset is in the right place. And if you are having occurrence after occurrence where the children are just being absolutely crazy, then you definitely have to put some things into place to fix those things. Now, I have talked with you before in the past, but I was a teacher for 13 years and I have 2 young children, and I have brought a lot of those teaching strategies into my home, and it has really helped to begin to make sure that I'm raising good humans, my husband and I, and that we are, not wanting to go hide in the wine liquor cabinet room and try every single kind until it's all gone, right? You know what I mean? Okay, that's a little extreme, maybe, or maybe not, but it is just so important to have these things put into place so that you're not losing your mind and so that you are raising good humans. So let's talk about a couple of things that you can put into place right away to begin to change a chaotic household and raise better humans. Okay, so number 1 is to establish clear expectations. I am telling you, I know it seems odd, but if your children don't know exactly the way they're supposed to act and what they're supposed to do, then they're not going to do it. Like, they're children. Really put yourself into their shoes and have some empathy for the fact that, especially young children, like, they're brand new into this world and they really don't have any idea until you set up those expectations for them. So setting up those consistent expectations for behavior is crucial. You just really want to communicate what your expectations are to your children in a positive and constructive manner. For example, in our family, we really speak with each other about kindness and respect, and really favoring the fact that when I see that from my girls, I am going to make sure that I highlight that as much as possible. But that's another tip that we will get into in a bit. But speaking of expectations, children and adults are innately in love with routines and schedules, and to know what's going on is huge. When they get completely surprised, I know that we have to adjust and be flexible with some things, but being able to just know what's going to happen, in the future, or what the plan is, communicating a plan with them is so essential. I've done this with my kids since they could understand, reasoning and go back and forth and speak with us. But a lot of times I'll say, do you want to hear the plan? Even when they were like super small and it was just a lot of babble back and forth, but they still understood when I said, do you want to hear the plan? Like, the plan for today, we're going to go swimming and then we're going to take a rest. And then, especially with things like that, like a rest or a nap, because it might not be their favorite thing to do if they have severe FOMO. But if they know that's on the docket for what is coming after we go swimming and then after we eat lunch, then they won't be surprised and they won't be taken aback by, oh my gosh, I had no idea that I had to take a nap. It is kind of common sense. Think about that for you, for example, for work and just, even if you kind of go on vacation, you have at least a little bit of an expectation of what the plan is for the day. And they love plans. They love consistency. Like in my classroom, that's what we did. We had the same thing every day, and not to toot my own horn, but I was praised for my classroom management and the fact that every time the principal or my boss would come in, they would see the kids engaged with what they were supposed to do. And you could see calmness and, the opposite of chaos in my classroom, because the kids knew exactly what they were supposed to do. When they come into the classroom, they know they sit down, and we would do what we call bell work. They were quiet for 5 minutes, like completely no talking. They're doing this themselves. And those are the clear expectations, and I set those up from day one. It's good to be a little strict at first, because after that point, you can really gain some trust, and do that with your children as well. They need to know who the boss is in the family. But anyway, getting off on a tangent a little bit. But the other thing to help out with those expectations is something called social stories. And that's something that I have done in the past with my kids for certain things that we are trying to figure out, like safety with, not going with strangers, and drop off for daycare. That was a huge game changer for Ophelia, my little one, because she had a lot of trouble with the drop off. But I purchased some social stories, which I can share with you in the future. But she was able to see, okay, this kid is going to school, and then mommy's going to come back to them. And it was something that really worked really well for her. So social stories are really helpful when you're making sure that you're setting up those expectations, setting up those social norms, and highlighting positive behavior while you're doing that as well. Tip number 2 for controlling the chaos and having a stress-free home that has kids in it is to encourage open communication. So you really want to foster an environment where your children feel comfortable expressing their feelings and concerns. If you are treating them like they are more of an adult and they have choices, then they are going to respond to that much better than, when they're getting treated like a baby, which, babies do not have that open, effective communication. So keep that in the back of your mind. The way that you treat them, is reciprocated, basically. So I used scripts such as, I'm here to listen to you. If something is bothering you, you can always talk to me about it. I really like to use language like, if my child is whining and crying, I just might say, like, I can't understand what you're saying, so let's try to take a deep breath, and then we can have a conversation. And then I might just say, that this is how big girls act, instead of, the way that babies might act, like how you are acting. Are you a baby or a big girl? And obviously they're going to say, I'm a big girl or a boy. And then I might then get to a point where I say, explain to me what it is that you want. After they're in that calm down phase, instead of, having some kind of fit, then they know that, okay, I'm seeing that you are hearing me, that you are listening to me, and you're taking my feelings into account. Now I can have effective communication back and forth with you. And it's always important, of course, to model that behavior as well. So try as much as possible to encourage that open communication and make them feel comfortable expressing their feelings and wants and the things that they need to you. All right, number 3 is to teach problem-solving skills. So when I was a teacher, one of the most important things, one of my teaching philosophies was, I worked with all different kinds of kids, including kids with disabilities. I was a special ed teacher for years, English teacher as well. But one of my main things for them is that, I know that you're not always going to have the answer for something, but let's teach you how to be resourceful and find the answer to those types of things. These are like those survival skills that we really want to teach our children. So teaching them problem-solving skills is super important. So you want to help them to think in that language, like when you face a challenge, let's think of different ways that we could have handled it. Like, we can work on this together. So that's where those social stories really are going to come in handy. And if something goes awry, I might just say, well, what is a better way we could have handled this situation? I really want to encourage them to come up with their own, new problem solving skills, like, or, I hit or whatever. What is a better way that we could have handled that situation? And usually they're going to come up with ways like, okay, well, I can ask kindly. If they need prompting, just help them, show them, teach them those better ways to deal with it. And, I find myself saying the preferred response all the time and then having them repeat that. When you are younger, when you're kids, it's all a matter of repetition, repetition, repetition. And once you continue to learn these things and how to act in certain situations, then they're going to pick up on it. And that all goes back again to trying to really teach them, or to approach them as they are an adult or a big kid, because that's essentially what you want them to be. So if you're treating them that way and showing them like, this is how we act, as we grow older, because ultimately your goal is to raise a good human that's ready to go out into society and handle society. So the more and more you are treating them like an adult and helping to teach them those problem-solving skills, reiterating what is a better way we could have handled this, then the better off you are, and you're going to get closer and closer to raising good humans. So tip number 4 is to promote the positive reinforcement. So when you acknowledge and praise positive behavior, they're more likely to do that kind of positive behavior more often. Again, these are teaching them the ways that we want them to respond and just do everything. That's just what you're doing. You're teaching this human how to be a good human. So, a lot of times I might say, that was very kind of you. I noticed how you helped your sibling. It was very kind of you. I love when you do that. Like, praise that good behavior. You wouldn't believe how many times, it's a little bit of overkill and it seems like it, but now my husband has gotten on board with it as well. And when they just have a natural good response, I praise them, because they can see it's natural. When we are praised for behavior or anything, we're gonna want to do it more. Like, we can see that mommy and daddy are happy. We can see that anyone else is happy. Like, this is how we are as adults as well. But the more and more you just learn that this is the way that we should be acting, then the better off you are and more apt you are to continue to, display that behavior. It really is not something that can be really overdone at all. Like, this is just a little thing. This was a while ago, but when Luciana was just kind of learning how to talk, she's 5 now. But when I would call her name, she might say, she might have said, what, or, whatever. It just sounds better if you might answer like, yes, mommy, or something like that. This is, again, showing you how to be a good, respectful adult. Like, that's how I would want them to answer their teacher if their teacher called on them in class. But I would say, if I'm calling you, can you say, yes, mommy, I need you to, acknowledge that I'm talking to you. And of course, if I wasn't acknowledging you when you were talking to me, would you enjoy that? Of course not. So now, it's just the little things, like when she says, yes, mommy, I don't even have to say it anymore. But when it was first happening, I would say, oh my gosh, I love that response. Like, they're the littlest things, but I literally will just say them all day, every day. And again, my husband's doing it as well, which is awesome. But continually telling them and showing them, like, this is what we love. This is the great way that we are, becoming those better humans. So praise and promote positive reinforcement. Of course, you can put other things into place to help this out, like charts or like a jar to put pom-poms in every time, they do something that is a preferred behavior, and then they can earn something, whatever it may be. But those are just a lot of positive reinforcement tools that you can do, which we probably will save for another video. But promoting that positive reinforcement is something that is going to make them do it more and more. I mean, it's kind of common sense, right? All right. And tip number 5, model that calm and respectful behavior that you desire. I feel like all of these are kind of connected with this, but children really learn by example, and you need to make sure, I know that life is tough. Momming is hard. Dadding is hard. Dadding, I don't think that's a word, but it gets crazy at times. But it's really important to just keep at the forefront the fact that your children are literally watching you with every little move that you're making. And that is the behavior that they're going to learn. So if you continue to keep a calm and respectful demeanor at the forefront as much as possible, then they're probably going to turn out that way as well. Because as long as they see you as that authoritative figure, then they are going to continue to listen to you and want to be like you. So make sure that you are being that person that you want to send out into the real world. So really make sure that you're modeling that calm and respectful behavior at all times. Like we call my friends, like my friend, Jackie, for example, and her husband, Dan. So my children call them Miss Jackie and Mr. Dan because it is a form of respect. So that's how they call all adults. They don't just call them by the first name. They say Miss this or, Mr. that. And it's those little things that, we end up calling them that as well. And, I call Daddy, and all of that, but they hear this. They're sponges. They're watching you at all times. So you just really want to make sure that you are putting forth that best person, that best version of yourself, so that they want to be as much like mommy and daddy as possible. So make mommy and daddy be good people. Okay, so one last bonus tip is, I mentioned this in my other video as well, but here's something that works really well for all kids because it is super empowering. Make sure that you use as much choice behavior as possible, okay? So when children, especially toddlers, are just starting to understand the world, something that is super powerful is for them to think that they are a part of the decision-making process, like no matter what it is. And once you are giving them choices in the matter, then that means that they're picking their ultimate outcome. And so that choice behavior makes it then their decision for what they were going to do. Here's a little example. Okay, so like it's bath time. My kids against bath time, like they don't want anything to do with bath time. So I might say, okay, again, setting up those expectations, the schedules, like we're going to take a bath. And then I might say, so if, let's say they're against bath time, I might say to them, would you rather hop like a bunny to the bath really quickly or crawl like a crab to the bath? Okay, so now they are taking responsibility for the choice that they're making, but you're sneaking in there that it's actually bath time. Because another thing to add to the plate as far as the choice behavior goes is also trying to make it fun. Like kids are always going to get on board with something that is fun. So by implementing these proactive strategies, we can really create an environment that supports positive behavior and minimizes those potential challenges, the meltdowns. Remember, prevention is key. Staying in front of things and being proactive can really help our children to develop the skills that they need to navigate the world around them. And when it comes to setting up these little planning hacks, you might want to realize how to put some of these things into place so that you are always prepared for these situations and that things can run as smoothly as possible. So if you would like to see how to make these tasks a lot easier and make mom and dad life a lot easier, make sure you check out this video because it's going to really help you to put in these little hacks to set up all of this awesomeness that's going to set a stress-free tone for your household, because parenting is hard, but I'm here to help because, I'm experiencing it with you as well. So thanks for watching, and make sure you check out that video and stay tuned for the next one.